The main conclusion is that information and communication technology is what you would call a general purpose technology. So this is a technology that comes around, but it takes a very long time, maybe sometimes 40 to 50 years before it's really playing out on the economy and on society and on culture. It leads to a whole range of inventions and innovations that are following that core technology. It spreads very widely across the economy. It is going to impact on different parts of the social network, the social infrastructure of societies. And therefore it will create winners and losers, and it takes time for, to get everybody on board on that technology. So what we have done is we've looked at some of the economic changes that have been taking place. For example, rapid increase in productivity, increases in investment in information and communication technology, first in advanced economies, later on and nowadays also in the emerging economies and the developing economies. We have looked at how information and communication technology is impacting on health, how it is impacting on education, and it takes time before we really get the benefits from that. And we have looked at how it is kind of changing the social fabric of societies, both again in advanced as well as in emerging economies. Well, it's interesting. I think we're actually right in the middle of this technology cycle, if you call. As I said, it may take 4 or 5 decades before this is going to roll out, and surely over the last 2-3 decades we have seen already major impacts, as we all experience on a day-by-day basis. But I think we're now kind of moving to a next stage where basically everybody gets connected in the world, and where the impact of this technology is spreading basically in everything we are doing in our daily lives. It's a little bit like electricity back in the beginning of the 20th century, right? First it's going to impact on the cities, and it's going to help factories to produce more productively, but after a while it gets to our homes, and it is going to change appliances that we're going to use, and ultimately it's going to change our whole behavior. And I think that is rapidly ongoing right now. We see more and more people getting connected in, and we see also shifts in the way that it is impacting social behavior. Well, this is changing all the time. I think what we're seeing right now is that in the past, the winners and the losers would be basically a matter of income. Whether you were high income, you would be in business. If you had low income, you couldn't afford it. I think now we are increasingly beginning to see that it is partly a matter of age. Younger people obviously are much more connected than older people, but this will change, of course, over time as younger people get older as well. It's a matter of education. People who are higher educated typically tend to get much more easy access and benefit from the technology at a much earlier stage than people who are less educated. And there is still an issue of access. I mean, how easily can people access this technology? Do you have a mobile phone or not? And of course, more and more people get connected on a mobile phone. But now that mobile phone gets extended with broadband, it's opening up a whole new range of applications. What is very important is that governments think about how to bring in those people who, are behind in terms of getting on board of this. And there are strategies for governments to do this, and there have been different rates of success around the world to really make sure that you get those groups that are not fully benefiting yet to get them into this as well. Well, it is the research actually, there are about 11 detailed case studies being done, and they've been typically written as academic papers, but the book itself is actually bringing these academic papers to a much more accessible level. So I would say it's a book that is typically well suited for readers who have a deep interest on how information and communication technology is impacting on the economy, society and culture. I think message number one is it's not really just about the technology. The technology is important, but it is the applications of the technology that is absolutely key in order to get the full impact. I think that's message number one. Message number two, there is a fairly immediate impact on the economy in terms of the producers of those technologies becoming more productive. But the real productivity gains for an economy, the real growth advantages for an economy are going to come from these broad applications across the economy. That's where we see economies really benefiting. And for example, we see that the United States has been more successful in some of these applications than many of the European countries who are still kind of catching up and trying to get the right framework for this. Thirdly, there are incredible advantages for consumers. Some of it is unmeasured, and actually if we measure these things, we call this consumer surplus, it actually shows that there is even a lot more benefit to this technology than we already thought. So there's a lot of hidden benefits that in this study we're bringing forward, and we need to get a better understanding of that consumer surplus. Fourthly, it is leading to social divides, as we discussed. There are people who pick up on this technology earlier than others, and we need policies to make sure that indeed we get those people who are behind to get them involved in this as well. And I think the fifth most important conclusion of this study is the difficulty of this technology to really get it also working for services that are provided by government. So for example, we've done there are 3 studies in there on the effect of information and communication technology on e-government, e-health and e-education. The potential is enormous, but the constraints to make it work are also very large. In e-health, we have issues with regard to really getting the applications to benefit the patients, to make administrative processes more productive, to improve the quality of the service. In e-health, in e-education, we see that there is a lot of work to be done about getting teachers up to speed in order to apply this technology. And in e-government, we still see that the bureaucratic processes are quite often running behind the opportunities that the technology is offering. Well, it's interesting. In these kind of new technologies, there are always the early users and there are the followers. And this is sort of changing over time. But I think the more broadly the applications are becoming and the more accessible they become, the more consumers are actually going to see the benefits from those technologies. My recommendation to consumers is this is a technology that is going to change our way of life. There's just no doubt about it, and I think it's happening. We're already in the middle of it. We don't even see what may be coming down the road. It is something that you shouldn't be left out of. You have to look at the opportunities that it is offering and use it to your benefits. Well, this is a study that has been funded by the Telefonica Foundation, and it has allowed us to bring together a large group of scholars from within the conference board, as well as from other universities and research institutes around the world, to get this very broad perspective. And Telefonica has been very supportive of trying to get this broad perspective, this full understanding of how this technology is playing out, and recognizes that the gains and the benefits of this, they don't come automatically. They don't just depend on the technology. They depend on policy. They depend on our ability to educate consumers and users to really use the technology to their advantage.